But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there's anything redeeming about this project whatsoever.
Snow White has always been far more than just a fairy tale princess. She's a cultural icon who has helped define the entire essence of Disney magic since 1937. Yet in this moment, her enduring legacy is caught in the middle of two drastically different reinterpretations, both competing to win over global audiences. One features Rachel Zegler, a rising star famous for her roles in modern musical films. The other spotlights Brett Cooper, a YouTuber and former Daily Wire host, whose more traditional take stands in direct contrast to the contemporary twist championed by Zegler. With rumors swirling about financial woes over at the Daily Wire and ongoing controversies triggered by Zegler's public statements, many are left questioning which version of Snow White will most faithfully capture the spirit of this beloved tale, and which one might fade into obscurity. Long before social media and streaming-dominated entertainment, Walt Disney's 1937 adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs set the standard for on-screen fairy tales. It was the world's very first feature-length animated film, mesmerizing viewers with exquisite hand-drawn illustrations, delightful music, and endearing characters. Beyond its historical advancements, it introduced the Disney princess archetype that influenced generations to come. Over time, Snow White became a universal symbol of purity and kindness, her story embodying lasting values of friendship, moral courage, and the undeniable power of true love. Many of us watched that classic as kids, captivated by singing woodland creatures and the charm of a fairy tale prince. But culture keeps evolving. Fresh storytellers often feel the need to remake classic tales for newer audiences. Some see this as a revitalizing and empowering move, while others dismiss it as a hollow attempt to stay trendy. Now, with two starkly different interpretations in the pipeline, we're about to see a real divide emerge among those who love Snow White. The moment Disney revealed Rachel Zegler would headline their newest live-action Snow White, reactions were immediate, and not all of them positive. Zegler, who burst onto the scene thanks to a recent movie musical, set off a huge debate when interviews appeared in which she called the original tale outdated. She insisted Snow White should transcend the search for true love angle and instead adopt a more assertive leadership style. On paper, that might sound refreshing, a princess who sets her own rules and confidently governs her kingdom. But many fans felt snubbed by how effortlessly Zegler dismissed the spirit of the 1937 film. Critics pointed out that she didn't seem to have much affection for the character's roots, claiming she disliked the original movie and had watched it just one time. Even observers who tried to stay neutral wondered if the film's classic sweetness would be swapped out for something overly modern and jaded. Zegler once shared a personal story about her friend who initially tipped her off about the audition, joking, "Thank me when you're famous." It's surreal how that prediction came true, and she takes her friend everywhere in gratitude. She also mentioned that her first audition tape was so awkward she's still puzzled she got the part. That footage now gets shown to future casting directors at NYU. It's a quirky detail that highlights how fast her career has advanced. Yet Zegler's remarks sparked broader cultural arguments, setting off both demands for progressive spins on fairy tales and warnings from traditionalist fans who see extreme rewrites as betraying Disney's heritage. Meanwhile, a surprising contender joined the competition. Brett Cooper, recognized for her YouTube presence and her time at the conservative-leaning Daily Wire. Cooper announced she was leading a competing Snow White movie under a different production studio. The news quickly caught the attention of both casual viewers and devoted Disney aficionados. Many wondered, how would a talk show personality take on such an iconic princess role, especially under a smaller label? Details eventually trickled in, indicating Cooper's version aims for a faithful take on the Brothers Grimm narrative, closely mirroring classic Disney aesthetics. Early buzz claims her Snow White embraces a gentle nature, heartfelt romance, and sprinklings of fairy tale enchantment. In interviews, Cooper praised the original's sense of wonder and moral clarity, signaling her commitment to preserve that spirit. This message immediately clicked with fans eager to rediscover the innocence of the old-school Snow White, free from modern cynicism. Conversely, skeptics doubted whether her approach might come across as behind the times, especially compared to Disney's drive for contemporary empowerment. Things get more intriguing when you add speculation about Cooper's former employer, the Daily Wire. Insiders hint that CEO Jeremy Boring has been in panic mode behind the scenes, hinting at deeper financial dilemmas. Online chatter suggests Cooper's parting from the company may have been unpleasant, with some claiming she and upper management clashed. Regardless of the truth, the timing is notable. As Zegler's progressive Snow White stirs controversy, Cooper quietly moved forward on her own production. And the bigger the Daily Wire drama gets, the more eyes turn toward Cooper's new direction. Many wonder how these behind-the-curtain issues might shape Cooper's movie. Will doubts about the Daily Wire cast a shadow on Cooper's Snow White? Or will that very drama draw attention, recasting her as a fearless figure blazing her own trail? Audiences have a limitless appetite for insider Hollywood scoops, so each new rumor or leak amps up the fascination surrounding her adaptation. You might be asking, so what's the fuss about having two Snow White films? The conflict represents more than just two actors stepping into the same famous role. It mirrors a larger cultural divide brewing for years in Tinseltown. On one side, we have Rachel Zegler wanting to rewrite fairy tale tropes to match modern ideals, focusing on self-reliance, independence, and being a leader. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper seems dedicated to reviving the original fairy tale purity, love, kindness, steadfastness, and that reassuring idea that goodness will ultimately prevail. Zegler's public comments have sometimes felt dismissive toward fairy tale romance, prompting some critics to brand her movie as a gloomier take that challenges the legacy of the 1937 film. The deeper debate is that a broad group of fans still clings to the timeless Disney model, particularly in a world that can feel overwhelmingly cynical. They see Snow White as a beacon of hope, not something needing a major overhaul. Meanwhile, Zegler's supporters praise her for stepping outside the traditional mold and refusing to be constrained by an 80-year-old story. Social media amplifies these tensions. Whenever Zegler shares video clips or gives interviews, online comment sections explode with conflicting views. Some champion her as a feminist trailblazer, tossing out patriarchal cliches, while others accuse her of trampling on the sweet charm that made the 1937 film a masterpiece. Brett Cooper, in contrast, has won over certain corners of the internet with her consistent affection for the original narrative. TikTok users have been creating fan edits that celebrate how Cooper's portrayal supposedly reflects the true essence of the character. Meanwhile, critics of Zegler have gone viral with compilations that highlight her perceived smugness, deepening anti-Disney sentiment in an era where new controversies spark daily digital battles. This showdown over Snow White is rallying fans who yearn for Disney's once innocent storytelling, and those who argue that we should let princesses mature with the times. When Zegler spoke about feeling targeted by hateful messages, the reaction was mixed. Some people sympathized, noting no performer deserves personal threats. Others felt she brought the uproar on herself through her comments downplaying the original film's importance. Either way, it's a prime example of how fiery these debates can get when an iconic piece of childhood nostalgia is reinvented. What really intensifies this rivalry is the possibility that both films may drop around the same time, potentially within the same year. That sets the stage for direct competition, whether at the box office or on streaming. Rachel Zegler's version has Disney's official backing, which usually guarantees huge marketing power. But Brett Cooper's film is capturing the hearts of those longing for a more traditional retelling. Insiders whisper that Disney worries Zegler's contentious interviews might jeopardize ticket sales. While they bank on their brand recognition to lure audiences, they also know goodwill is invaluable for a fairy tale reboot. If viewers conclude that this new iteration disrespects the 1937 classic, it could be a publicity nightmare, especially if Cooper's faithful homage ends up winning over fans with its nostalgic vibe. What really intensifies this rivalry is the possibility that both films may drop around the same time, potentially within the same year. That sets the stage for direct competition, whether at the box office or on streaming. Rachel Zegler's version has Disney's official backing, which usually guarantees huge marketing power. But Brett Cooper's film is capturing the hearts of those longing for a more traditional retelling. Insiders whisper that Disney worries Zegler's contentious interviews might jeopardize ticket sales. While they bank on their brand recognition to lure audiences, they also know goodwill is invaluable for a fairy tale reboot. If viewers conclude that this new iteration disrespects the 1937 classic, it could be a publicity nightmare, especially if Cooper's faithful homage ends up winning over fans with its nostalgic vibe. Another element adding sparks is the debate over the dwarfs or other mythical creatures in each film. Actor Peter Dinklage once critiqued what he saw as outdated stereotypes, prompting Disney to rework some aspects behind the curtain. Meanwhile, rumors suggest Cooper's film plans to include a more classical depiction, appealing to fans who believe Disney no longer trusts the original fairy tale components. Altogether, we're witnessing a swirling mix of rumors, speculation, and high-stakes fandom, making this Snow White face-off feel less like two playful adaptations and more like a full-blown battle in the broader culture war. By now, it's clear this isn't merely about who slips on that famous yellow, blue, and red dress. Rachel Zegler and Brett Cooper have become stand-ins for opposing viewpoints on preserving or altering our most treasured childhood stories. Zegler represents a fresh, activist-style reinvention, emphasizing that modern audiences deserve updated characters who mirror new social norms. Cooper represents a deep respect for the qualities that first made Snow White a timeless figure: her innocence, goodness, and unwavering optimism. But as social media spats and backroom showbiz conflicts escalate, we should remember what originally drew us to Snow White. Her lasting appeal isn't just about romance or a prince, it's about hope, empathy, perseverance, and the uplifting belief that goodness can outshine even the darkest challenges. Whether you're Team Zegler, rooting for a trailblazing princess, or you back Cooper's devotion to a classic portrayal, the core values of the story remain steadfast. Love matters, kindness matters. All of this leads to a bigger question. Should we let these beloved characters evolve to match today's sensibilities, or do we fight to preserve their original magic? The dueling Snow White productions have ignited a fierce debate about where our culture is headed. Do we continue to embrace the rosy worldview of old-school Disney, or do we revise those classics for a swiftly changing era? In the end, the destiny of both films and the futures of Disney, The Daily Wire, and both actresses hinges on that question. Whether you're cheering for Ziegler's emancipated princess or Cooper's homage to a timeless myth, it's clear that this narrative is still unfolding, and the conclusion might not be what anyone expects. Sound off in the comments below. Let us know which Snow White resonates with you. Prepare for a cinematic duel that goes way beyond storytelling choices. With both versions racing to be released, each with its own supporters and detractors, we'll soon learn which Snow White can genuinely secure the Magic Mirror's claim of fairest of them all. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more unfiltered deep dives into Hollywood's most dramatic showdowns. Stay tuned because this fairy tale is still far from over.